Detective Castellanos, what a pleasant surprise. Welcome back.
I'm not sure I'm ready to say I enjoyed The Evil Within 2 more than Resident Evil 7, but that I'm even considering it should say enough. With Part 2, The Evil Within has gone from a neat little game Shinji Mikami made to become a horror series worthy of filling the void left by, if not Silent Hill, then at least Dead Space. The Evil Within 2 is such an incredible improvement over the first, it's almost proof that Mikami needed to be saved from himself. Not only an amazing game on its own merits, but it does such a phenomenal job with the foundational building blocks from the first game, it also somehow made me appreciate the first one more. The contrived and at times too convenient world-bending story framework becomes a somewhat compelling indictment against media conglomeration and the unchecked rapid growth of technology. Its stable, bland, forgettable characters, that is the few that return for the sequel, are given fleshed out histories, motivation, and arcs. Its incredible linear gameplay expanded, its smattering of open world chapters almost making good on the enormous wasted potential of Dead Space 3's non-linear first half. Coming from someone who didn't even really like the first game with its second entry, The Evil Within has arguably become the best big budget horror series on the market. My friend Javi, I absolutely loved this game so much.
This game's alright.
Nah. When the credits were rolling, I was like, Part 3, let's do this, I'm totally on board. The reason why I haven't decided on whether or not I do like it more than Resident Evil 7 is because there's baggage with Resident Evil 7. Resident Evil 7 was a good game, and it's more meaningful that that series is on track. Yeah. This is a new series that I think finally found its footing, and that's great.
Even though they're both horror games that kind of come from the same kind of DNA.
Yeah.
I would say that Evil Within 2 is a whole different beast than RE7.
Yeah, it might also be difficult to actually compare them one-on-one. Yeah.
It's much more ambitious, you know, and I use that word a lot when we talked about the first game, but like they added in the open world elements.
They really, like all the stuff that was in Evil Within 1 is like they either took out or refined, and somehow they took all the shit that was in this game, and also we both have digital copies.
That's true.
Of Evil Within 2. So we don't have an Evil Within 2 thing we can put here.
Floating right here.
Yeah. Let's have a little
digital copy.
Oh yeah. To me, it's like it almost made me like the first game better because it's like,
yeah,
it's like taking the same pieces but constructing a better game with it.
Yeah. I really liked Evil Within 2 up until a certain point. I would say maybe the halfway point. I was basically saying, I think I like this more than Resident Evil 7. Like, full stop. It had its open world elements that really worked.
Oh my god. Is this, all right, this might be the best collectathon game of 2017. It's definitely up there. The open world stuff is amazing.
Yeah, and I think my ultimate criticism of it is that it gave you a taste of that with Chapter 3. Chapter 3 is maybe the best like little section of this franchise. Give somebody Chapter 3 or turn Chapter 3 into a whole game.
Or Chapter 7, I think was the other area that was sort of open-ish.
Yeah, it wasn't the same. It was kind of like, it was much shorter, much smaller, and there wasn't enough to dig into. It's not too different from the original Silent Hill game, or Silent Hill 2, any of the ones where you walk around the city of Silent Hill.
But I think that only works thematically because in Silent Hill, you have the big city to go look around in, but like there's not a whole lot of incentive to do it. You can find ammo, you can find health there, but like, really I looked at the the open world aspects of Evil Within 2 more like the original mansion in Resident Evil 1. Because to me, the mansion was kind of like an open world. But when you first play Resident Evil 1, or you first play the remake, when they expanded on the mansion in a brilliant move, you thought you knew the mansion, and in the Resident Evil remake, suddenly it's like 75% completely different. But it's sort of like this mini open world, and you have to explore it, and it's sort of like this scary enemy in and of itself. The city, at least in Chapter 3, that area was just that, but expanded out bigger. It's a Metroidvania light still, like most of the time. It was just an absolute joy to dig into that.
So I 100% agree until the game is not that, which is Chapter 4. I don't know, like, no, I really enjoyed the majority of this game. So don't get me wrong. What if this game, instead of what we got, what is it, the marrow? The marrow is where you
Yeah.
can transform. So what if the marrow was always kind of available? And you just said Metroidvania.
Yeah.
If the marrow could connect you to every different area and you can always go back, and even if the world changes over time, but you can always access each
Yeah.
area, that'd be sick. Like, do that.
Yeah. They could have made this more open. They could have,
Yeah.
like, then you have the issue of like, well, this is still an Evil Within game. We still have to have the warping
I think-
realities and the shifting stuff. And I
But
think
they do that in
Yeah.
Chapter 3 without having to take away the open world. Like
Yeah.
you go into a home where your little device is like, oh, picking up some woman crying about a ghost.
Yeah.
That is like probably my favorite moment in the game. You go in there and you don't have to. Like you're saying
Yeah.
that you have to like check out this whole map. Like you could miss out on entire like story chunks that
Yeah.
take you back to Evil Within 1 or give you a sniper rifle or give you a shotgun.
Yeah.
That's optional. You can just head to that big old checkpoint in the top right of the screen and move the narrative forward. So like I was digging into that, man.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, now let's go to the train yard. What's going on in each one of these carts?
I think I was up to like, I paused to take notes, and I noticed the game tracks your progress while you pause to take notes. But I was at hour 10 by the time I actually finished chapter 3.
Yeah.
And I think that means I put like 6 to 7 hours just in that area. I went everywhere.
So I think we see eye to eye here.
Yeah.
We both want more of that.
What we don't see eye to eye then perhaps is like the moments that aren't that. I
No.
still found pretty engaging. I still found really, really good.
I think that it lost a little bit. The first game, the way that Sebastian dresses, the way that the game kind of looks, like the art direction, it has a foot in like an old-timey kind of noir. Like he has that trench coat, he has
Yeah.
the vest with the pinstripes. And then you look at Evil Within 2, it's like, oh, this is contemporary. This is happening right now. That style was to the benefit of the first game. I think you lose a little bit of what makes the Evil Within by just making it very just simple or just, you know, regular. There was a certain vibe that the first game had that I feel the second one doesn't.
I was so distracted by so many other things, both things that I liked about Evil Within 2 and things I didn't like about Evil Within 1, that just felt like not really super important to me.
Yeah, I mean, and don't get me wrong, I'm coming from like, I would watch a lot of very positive reviews of Evil Within 2 and check out the comments, and the comments are full of super fans of the original that are very sour on the second one. I was surprised, and we're totally like skipping past the really, really cool like photograph, like people stuck in cubes and
Yeah.
and just walking through like creepy corridors, you know, that's very Evil Within. Like,
Yeah.
the first game is like 50% that.
Yeah.
I like that it does that, and it takes that whole STEM premise to like, you go into a certain room in Union, and it'll just change around you, and suddenly you're in this really linear, really cool, spooky, carefully crafted moment
Yeah.
in the game, and that's what I love. I mean, I love that you can still do that and then snap right back to Union, and you're like, okay, well, I got this item out of it.
That was weird. Even for this place.
I don't disagree that they could have had more like non-linear open world stuff, but I still feel like even the small vignettes, the smaller chapters that are like get point A to point B, there's still, the levels give you enough variation, and I think that's where the other thing comes in is all the systems, all the different types of combat and weapons you're given in Evil Within 1 is just more refined and is better in Evil Within 2.
Yeah, I think that the stealth needs a little work though, because you know I spent a ton of time in Union in Chapter 3, got all the brain jelly you can get, and then I went and cashed it all into stealth, because that's all I did. And I was playing on the harder difficulty, so you have very, very little ammo.
Yeah.
You need stealth.
I guess I was playing on Survival, which is the medium one,
Yeah.
and you went one notch.
I went to the one that's like as hard as you can get out of the box.
Okay.
But the issue was that I spent so much time there and farmed so much green gel that I could max out my stealth mechanic right off the bat in Chapter 3. And there was such a dramatic shift in how enemies detected me. Suddenly, I went from 0 to 100, and it's like, they don't see you. You can be right next to them and they
Yeah.
don't see you. They'll be chasing you. Like, here's a car, you'll run around the car and then just crouch.
Yep.
And they'll just be like, what? And so that kind of broke that beautiful illusion that we had there.
Okay. I still wanted to avoid fights.
Yeah.
It was still like, even when I was fully upgraded, enemies kept getting more and more difficult to kill, and it was like, I have enough ammo, I could probably take all 3 of these dudes, but I just really need to kill one of them and then get around the other 2. The game still felt very open to me, even in those moments.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's more about the end of the game is where it starts to like really trip all over itself for me. And I don't know if it was the difficulty that I was playing on, but it just kept locking you in rooms with 5 or so enemies that would kill you really quickly, especially at the hard difficulty. And it was just about stealthing them all, because you don't have enough ammo. So you just have to stealth kill them all. And at that point, it's like maybe 15 hours into the game, 15 hours of just crouching and getting behind them to press X. 15 hours, it gets old, man. And like the game needs to like spice it up a little bit. I don't know, it just kept doing that. There were so many back to back to back, like how many rooms do I need to clear? How many lava guys do I need to stab in the back?
Yeah, this is something that I liked about Evil Within 1 was like, ammo was scarce in Evil Within 1.
Yeah.
And it's scarce here too, but I never felt like I was like literally without any kind of ammo. Maybe if I stuck with my pistol and stuck with the shotgun, I'd be out of ammo, but it was like, when I ran out of those, I had to use my bow.
The bow, yeah.
I had to use other things, and so it forced me to utilize all of my tricks. If anything, I almost felt like I wanted to play through on the harder mode because I felt the game got too easy at a certain point. Except when everyone became aware of my position and all of a sudden I was fighting off a mosh pit. Then I would die immediately. But if I could keep everything under wraps, yeah, a little bit of ducking here, a little bit of like, let's ice everybody here, let's zap people over here. I had very little trouble getting through even the last half of the game.
Okay.
The bosses in this game, they're not one-hit kill bosses, so therefore they're better. Moving on. But really,
Yeah. All right, that's good.
Yeah.
I want to drop a hot take on the bosses here. I think that these bosses, maybe not all of them, but most of them, are Metal Gear Solid tier. In the sense of like, their design is really memorable, the way that you fight them is interesting and well designed. They almost have like a lore behind them, which I guess...
There was a moment in the Evil Within 1 where like you're in a parking garage and then a giant fucking thing is there. And it's just a giant fucking thing.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at the best area at the end, there's a lore reason behind it. It was not communicated in the game, at least as far as I was concerned, so it was just a big fucking thing you're fighting.
Yeah.
In Evil Within 2, like, most of the boss fights have something to do with the story. There's a reason for them to be there. And yeah, there's that one boss fight, we'll try and keep away from spoilers, but like that one in particular is sort of like an oh shit moment. I never felt like we got that with Evil Within 1. There was never a boss fight that was like, oh man,
yeah.
Where's it gonna go from here? No, it's just gonna keep going. And you're gonna have another big thing to fight.
I think that also the pace of that fight in particular, it reminded me in a lot of ways of the, what's the name, Mr. Freeze fight in Arkham City.
Yeah.
Just this hulking thing walking through a pretty sizable environment, and you have to figure out how you tackle this. You have to like plan ahead, and it gives you that time. Meanwhile, he's lighting the whole place on fire and everything can hurt you, which is really cool. I just really enjoyed that boss fight. That being said, we just praised the bosses in this game quite a bit. They recycle them, and they lose all of their importance in my mind. Like, once they start becoming a regular enemy, and they do it more than once with more than one boss, I can't have it.
They literally, like, okay, so yeah, they kind of do the brawler final fight thing where like, okay, the boss, the first level, becomes a normal guy by the 4th level kind of thing. It is lame to see them again, but they're not chumps. They still put up a damn fight.
Yeah, I don't care though. Let's talk about Stefano for a sec.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, he is Sander Cohen. He speaks in the same way, straight out of BioShock. But I think they did it in a stylish enough way. Like the character has like a great look to him. You feel like, you look at him and you're like, I know what this guy's about.
Yeah, what a chump.
Yeah.
Just like, he's pretentious and overly designed in a perfect way.
Yeah.
He's annoying. He's an annoying little fuckboy and you just want to shut him up.
Yeah.
He's great.
And like for a silly video game, like he's the perfect kind of antagonist. Do you remember the first time you walked in to see a person like with his head exploding and it's rewinding and it's in that cube and you can go into it, and everything about that, like design-wise and the way it sounded, the way it looked.
Yeah.
Every time I'd see a new one, I'm like, God, that's cool.
I actually wasn't so into the like kind of slow motion death stuff.
Oh,
that was neat for me, but I didn't do as much. I still liked his sequences, But yeah, that didn't do so much for me, honestly.
I'm a stickler for aesthetic in certain scenarios, and there's that first staircase that looks straight out of a Resident Evil game. There's like a piece of cloth in the middle just hanging there. Like that kind of area is so awesome and creepy and full of atmosphere. And so, I don't know, I want more of that. I could totally see somebody saying, that's so boring. You're just walking through nothing. It's a matter of how you go into it, I guess, or how you...
Yeah, I thought it was neat. It didn't really blow me away.
Even his boss fight was good. It was challenging and you had to figure out exactly how his moves worked.
Yeah.
Like up until that point, like if the game ended after that, it may have been a little on the short side. The way the game continues after that, I'm just like, oh,
It's a little ham-fisted because I guess we're not gonna get too into spoilers, but for me it was like, okay, he's American Psycho, and then after you vanquish him, he's immediately swapped in with Cannibal Corpse album cover. I wish that was telegraphed a little more, and maybe it was and I missed it, because for the good half of the game, it's like, Stefano's the big bad, he's the guy. And then like all of a sudden, it's like, right before you kill him, he's like, I was doing it for him. It's like, for who? And honestly, like, I thought that the red flaming dungeon was so much cooler.
So here's where our paths split.
Again, it's like, yeah, because you like the American Psycho, I liked Cannibal Corpse album cover. That was, that whole area was just rad. I did like the contrast though. I do think it was thematically cool that Stefano is very blue. He's very blue and white. And then this is red and black and orange, and just, you know, this is a mansion, this is a dungeon. I like that there's that contrast. One of the fun things this game can do, because it's not in the real world, there's a chain link fence, behind it is brick, and between the brick and the chain link fence are a bunch of torches shooting fire for no reason, because it looks fucking rad.
What was the album you said? Cannibal Corpse?
Cannibal Corpse album cover, yeah.
Cannibal Corpse and that aesthetic to me, like, just screams like, I really like just gore and fire, and that's fine. Like, I'm not critiquing any like your taste in that, but it's just I was so checked out, and I feel like I think Stefano clicks for me because the way he's designed and the way that those levels feel is very elegant, for lack of a better word. It feels like, not clean, but like
I do like,
slick.
It is very clean and pristine, but with like this air of grotesque.
Oh yeah.
This very thin minutia of disturbing imagery, which I think
something's very wrong in this place.
And it is a good contrast of like, yeah, here's a beautifully framed picture of a corpse, of a murdered person. And that is really cool.
And I find that like way more appealing and so this goes back to the opening scene of the first game, where it's like, how violent and gory and bloody can we make this one moment? And it's just like, let's just make an entire, the last half of the Evil Within 2 is more or less kind of that vibe.
Honestly, the first chapter in the Evil Within, like, you would think that I would like it. I was like, nah, nope. To me, it was like you're trying too hard in a weird way. Let's actually talk a little bit more about the story here. In the first game, Sebastian's just there. He gets wrapped up in it, but nothing that really happens in the game. Like, through files and stuff, you learn about Sebastian's backstory. You learn about his tragic past and all of this stuff, and that is largely what the plot of this game is about. But the beat-to-beat moments in Evil Within 1, they have nothing to do with Sebastian. They have no bearing on him at all. He's just there.
He barely reacts.
Yeah. In fact, all he does is go, what's going on?
What the hell is that?
Holy shit.
What the fuck?
The story, I wouldn't necessarily say it's fantastic, but it did an impressive hat trick. Like, it told a pretty good story, retconned or fleshed out the first game to the point where I almost actually cared about the first game more, and expanded the universe. Like, when the credits rolled, I was like, what's number 3? Evil Within 3, I'm all the way on board. It left a lot of things open very deliberately to keep this universe going.
The I have to save my daughter thing, like, it's better than nothing, but it wasn't executed particularly well. Like, Sebastian can tell you a million times throughout the game that he loves his daughter or he needs to get her or whatever. I don't feel it. I don't really buy it. It just feels like stupid, superficial video game story, you know?
That's definitely maybe becoming a trite video game thing. It's just the dads in video games are becoming a real big, maybe kind of annoying, kind of an annoying trope, actually.
But I think you can do it if the execution's right. Strangely enough, I think the Evil Within 1, just with a document here or there, did a lot more to make you empathize with Sebastian and like how his life has fallen apart, because you read it in a journal or whatever, you know, and you're like, oh, his wife went missing, shit, you know, and you can kind of like think up yourself, like, what does that mean about the guy? And obviously, The Evil Within 1 didn't have a lot going there, but like, I think reading it in that way and having something there to like cling on to and kind of fill in the gaps is more effective than just saying it out loud throughout the entire game. And it's like, dude, who cares,
But
man?
where was the story gonna go? I mean, like, you're gonna have the Mobius thing, you're gonna have the brain.
I'm not saying don't have the saving my daughter mission, but execute it in a way that's a little more reserved and a little more intelligent.
They lay on a little thick, you think?
Very thick.
Yeah.
And I think we disagree here, but the performances they left me wanting. I wanted Sebastian to emote a little more. He's just kind of like one note the entire game.
I think he's 2 notes. I'm gruff, gonna get shit done. I'm Sebastian doing stuff. And then they're like, well, man, I'm really sad about my daughter. Man, I'm really sad about my wife.
I think what I want from this game is a little bit more personality, and I don't care in what form. Either there's a little more pathos and it's a little more serious, or even levity. I think this game dips its toe in like being silly.
Yeah.
One of my favorite moments in the whole game is when you're tasked with like destroying this dude's works of art. And he goes up to one of the paintings and says something along the lines of, "I'm gonna destroy the shit out of you," or the fuck. He just like stepped. Like, I was laughing my ass off. I thought that was really good. And I want more of that. And I think that the developers have that in them, because like, even once you beat the game, like the unlockables you get are really cheeky, and the descriptions for them are
When the black bars show up. I forget exactly what the description is, but it's just like take it back to the old days.
A truly cinematic experience, you know, like they're making fun of themselves. It's really good. And also the shooting range. Everything that happens in the shooting range is so tongue-in-cheek. Like the game is having fun at last.
Spoilers. There's a bejeweled minigame in this game.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It's really good, too.
Yeah, it's actually really good. The story itself is not like an amazingly well-written one, but I do think that like the dialogue is pretty good. The game really does try to go for some really emotional stuff, and I think it hits it. It's not Silent Hill 2. It doesn't go deep with it. I think it stays in its lane. I think it also does tell a story where there are stakes, things happen, things move forward. The environment, the characters, the bosses, and all of that is informed by the story moving forward. It all moves together. It is a cohesive narrative and a good enough story that I was all the way on board. Thought the last half of that game was fantastic, and the last few boss fights, the last few areas I thought were just great. In the first game, you just get zapped to different worlds. But in this game, every time you get zapped to a different world, there's a purpose to it. It's sometimes you go back to Beacon, which is the plot of the setting of the first one. Other times you go back to Stefan's world. You go to like a couple of other areas later in the game when new characters are introduced. So everything is flashing and warping and changing, but there's like different kind of flavors to it.
First of all, most of the sequences that take you back to the first game and acknowledge things from that are totally optional. So that's cool.
Yeah.
If you don't care, or you've never played the first one, then I don't know, you don't have to do it.
Yeah. I'm not sure if it affects the ending or anything, but I got an achievement for like a part of
it. Yeah.
There's a part of me still in Beacon, and then you conquer that demon. And I think that's actually what the achievement's called.
It framed the first game in these rose-tinted glasses where you're like, oh, remember that? Remember that?
Yeah.
That game was all right.
There's even like a boss sequence where you kind of do like a Mega Man Wily style, like fight a couple of the big bosses from the first game again. And I even was like, oh man, it's this guy again, you know, like.
And then you fought the hair boss and you're like, oh no, or I was.
Actually, you fight the hair boss again.
It's as bad as I remember.
And she catches you and kills you one hit. And I was like, God.
Yep.
No. I feel like we've maybe touched everything we need to say about the story. What would you say about the overall length though? Because
too long. It really did feel like after you defeated Stefano, a new game started. Like it just reset, like introduce a new villain, and then there's a whole campaign that's just as long as the one you just did, but not as good.
At least by the end of this game, I wasn't like, what the hell happened?
Yeah, I mean, if the argument is that is it better than the first one? Yeah, undoubtedly. The people that don't feel that way, I think I mean, they were fans of the first one already, so they have different tastes than us,
Yeah.
obviously.
So the last topic really to talk about here is Shinji Mikami. I look at Shinji Mikami and what he's done with Tango as sort of like a different approach to what Keiji Inafune tried to do with his old Mind Number 9 and his Comcept and Intercept and that kind of craziness. Because what he didn't want to do any work. It's what it boils down to. He just wanted to pitch ideas and have other people do it. But what Tango Games is Shinji Mikami, he wants to bring new talent in. I said that like Evil Within 2 is proof that Mikami needed to be saved from himself. Because it's really hard to look at these two games and see, oh, Mikami, director on this one, executive producer on this one. Wow, the best thing he did was start this series and then get the hell out of the way and let young new talent really get into the trenches. I think this is almost like solidifies his legacy even further.
Is this his first time in like a offhand role? Because Hideki Kamiya like directed Resident Evil 2 and he did Devil May Cry.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like he's had his hands on a lot of projects. Like he was in charge of Resident Evil for 9 years, but he only directed 1, the remake, and 4.
But he was like producer. He had roles in it.
He produced all of them. Yeah, basically Kamiya was going to be Resident Evil 4, and he was like, it's just kind of going in a weird direction, and then Mikami was like, this is a completely different game. This is not Resident Evil. This is your own project. Move on to that. And like, so he's really good at that as a mentor. Dude can make games, but this is an example of him being an amazing mentor.
Yeah, and I would argue like Resident Evil 2 is probably my favorite.
It's
Probably
not
the
a
best
bad
Resident
thing.
Evil. Yeah, it's not a bad thing. Him just kind of being in the background, just watching over this stuff.
Not to take away from John Johannes, the director of Evil Within 2, but I think Mikami does deserve credit for having that insight and knowing that like, I can't be a part of this. I need to give it to somebody else. I think at the end of the day, we can probably say like, it's been a pretty good year for big budget horror.
Bigger than usual.
Yeah, you know, horror has so long existed in kind of like the smaller space, like Amnesia and Outlast and Five Nights at Freddy's, and say which one about those franchises. I personally, like, I don't really have any problem with any of them. I don't particularly like any of them, but I don't mind them existing.
No. But any horror existing, I'm glad it's there.
Yeah, in a way, it's like, this is like, it's never been better for horror, but like you kind of look at like big budget, like who's throwing down AAA horror games anymore? If hopefully it happens, that Evil Within 3 and Resident Evil 8 just becomes like a grudge match. That's just like, that is the like new Pepsi Coke Mortal Kombat Street Fighter. I want that.
I still think the Evil Within 2 is so unbalanced. Resident Evil takes it. And Resident Evil ends really poorly.
The thing that bugs me with Resident Evil 7, without getting too deep into this, Resident Evil 7's amazing, and then about halfway through, it remembers it's a Resident Evil game, and you're on a boat, and you're in a mine, and it turns into a straight up action game as opposed to like a neat horror game.
I don't know, we've had so many open world games this year, like more than anybody can play, so I mean, a horror game throwing its hat in there is commendable, but like, it really wasn't anything like super new or groundbreaking. I think RE7's shift to first person made every encounter like much more like, it filled the screen when you see an enemy.
But there's only like 3 enemies.
Fair.
Yeah,
that's true.
That's true. Oh, here we go, hold on. Let's continue this discussion. Ooh, there we go.
Grudge match. Like Resident Evil was never that long or that big. Like Evil Within won't end. It doesn't know when enough is enough. And the fact that they're saying that the second one undersold, well, and that maybe they're not gonna make a profit, well, you should have cut that budget in half. The game shouldn't be 22 hours, which is how long it took for me on the hard difficulty. Yeah. The best Resident Evil games are really brief. Like the original one, 2, 4 is long as hell, but
yeah,
we don't want 4.
That was always my criticism of 4, is that like, or that's the amazing thing about 4.
Yeah.
It's too big, it's too long, and it works somehow. That's my thing, is like, 4 shouldn't work. And maybe that's like the problem with Evil Within 1, was like Mikami was trying to do 4 again.
Doesn't work.
And like, yeah, everyone wants to make a game like Resident Evil 4, and you can't.
Yeah.
That game shouldn't exist, and Resident Evil 4 doesn't actually exist, I'm sorry. Again, this is why, Javi, is why I had you on.
Yeah.
Because we have strong opinions on so many horror games,
yeah,
so many Resident Evil games, so many survival horror games, but I think at the end of the day though, yeah, we both agree Evil Within 2 is a better game than the first one. Very highly recommended.
I recommend it. Yeah, I recommend it.
Not a high recommendation.
No, it's just that it just lost gas, or it lost momentum, and then it kept going.
Ran out of gas, yeah.
Ran out of gas.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for watching, everybody. This was a new experiment type of video for us. Javi, if they want more of you, where can they find you?
You can find me at critbox.com or search for Critbox on the YouTubes. If you're on Twitter, you can find me at Javiously with a 0.
Right
Put it on the
there.
screen right here.
All right, I'm looking at it.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm mostly a Nintendo kid, so there's lots of 3D platforming. I've played through the entire 3D Mario franchise on consoles. Every single Mario game, I played all the way through it, leading up to Odyssey.
How did you have time to play through Evil Within 1 and 2?
Yeah, with a full-time job too.
Yes. Wow, man, that's impressive.
Don't buy any of these. Buy Odyssey. Buy Mario Odyssey.
No, please get Evil Within 2. Buy Odyssey and Evil Within 2. They need to make an Evil Within 3.
Odyssey's the Resident Evil 2 or Resident Evil 4 sequel we have always wanted.
Odyssey is actually what we wanted all along. And we're on Patreon. Super special thanks to all our Patreon supporters. The show would not be possible without the generosity of every single one of these people here. If you want more Stop Skeletons from Fighting, check out this link here. For Critbox, go to this link here. To subscribe to Stop Skeletons, click on my face. If you want to go to Critbox, click on his face. And that's gonna do it. Thanks for watching, everybody, and goodbye.
Bye.